What's up guys, it's Cody here. When I released the Halfcraft 2.0 video and even the Halfcraft 1.0 video, I got a lot of questions from you guys asking how much the module lags. Well, in this video we are going to find out, and we're going to do that by running 4 tests. Test 1. We spawn in 100 free blocks in a 10 by 10 space, and we're going to do this without the module installed. Test 2, likewise without the module installed, we are going to spawn in 625 free blocks in a 25 by 25 space. Tests 3 and 4 are going to be repeats of 1 and 2, but with the Halfcraft module installed. Alright, let's get cracking. Welcome to test number 1. Let's open our debug menu. I'm running at 60 frames a second, which is the maximum that I have set, and there are 0 entities in the world except from myself, of course. Now I'll activate this command block, which will fill the area out here with a bunch of other command blocks, each of which has inside it the command to summon a free block above them. So we'll activate that, remove our leftover command blocks, and you'll notice I am still running at 60 frames a second, which is quite remarkable, especially since we have added 363 entities to the world, which is really quite serious. But yes, I am still running at 60 frames a second. Alright, time for our second test. Alright, here we are about to start our second test, and I've increased the area here to be a 25 by 25 square of command blocks, meaning we will be spawning 625 of these bad boys. And remember that each of those takes 3 entities, so we're really creating quite a lot of entities. We'll check my frames per second again. Once again, my frames are at a strong 60 frames a second, and there is only 1 entity in my world, that being myself. Spawn these in, remove the command blocks. Oh, yes, that is a lot of frames gone right down the drain just there. We got as low as, I think, 14 frames a second, maybe, well, 15 at least, definitely. One thing I have noticed is that when I look away, it seems to have increased my frames a second to 60, although, I don't know, it still looks a little jerky to me, so I'm not sure if that reading is entirely accurate, but I do think it is an improvement over when I was rendering all of these free blocks. Yeah, I think that frame rate is quite a lot worse. So that's something to think about. Chances are this is only really going to impact you when there's a high concentration of these things in just a small space like this, and your client is trying to render all of them at once. I think that's what the real problem is going to be, and hopefully this is going to be a very uncommon scenario unless you're trying to build an entire building out of these free blocks, and I would not recommend that. They're good for small details or enhancing large builds, just don't make your entire structure out of them. But yes, that's quite a frame rate drop, and you'll notice that there's an extra 2,028 entities in the world. That is really quite serious. But without further ado, it is time to move on to our third test. Let's begin the third test. We'll start, of course, by installing the Halfcraft 2.0 module. The command can be found on bitcoder.com/halfcraft, and to install it, you simply paste the command in, set the command block to always active, and click done. It's going to generate south, which is south, and we have here our Halfcraft multi-tool. If you don't know about the module itself, then firstly, I'm not sure why you're watching, and secondly, go watch the video, which I will link in the description. But let us spawn in our 10 by 10 grid of free blocks. Actually, before we do that, let's just check. My frames are still 60 frames a second because this module will not affect your frames when there are no free blocks in your world. But let's install this. And I'm still at 60 frames a second. So far, the module has not affected my frames per second at all. Alright, let's begin the fourth test. Here we are ready to begin our fourth and final test. My frames are running at 60 frames a second, as usual. Now, before this module was installed, when we spawned in all of these free blocks, the 625 that I'll be spawning in now, it lowered our frames per second to about 15. Let's see what happens with the module installed. 24, 11, oh dear. So, yes, the frames per second is lower. Before it was 15, now it's 13 is the minimum. Okay, 12. Yes, I haven't got any lower than 12 frames a second. So the module installed does very slightly affect the frames per second. In fact, it affects them a lot less than I expected it to. So that's really great. But, you know, we're testing this all in a super flat world, and chances are you're not going to be using Halfcraft in a super flat world. Chances are quite a few of you are going to be using it in a regular old world with entities and blocks and all that stuff. So I think we better run these tests in a regular world. Welcome back to the world in which I recorded the Halfcraft 2.0 video. That recording happened over there, and we are going to do our testing here because this is a normal world filled with normal cows living their normal cow lives in a normal cow forest. But we're about to throw this into a little bit of chaos. But first, let's check my frames. 60 frames a second as usual, and we have 16, 18, 23 entities nearby, 8 of which are being rendered, excluding myself, of course, because I'm not being rendered. So this is our 625 free blocks. So this is basically going to be as laggy as it is going to get, or as low frames as we are going to get. I'll destroy the command blocks, and we are down to 14 frames a second. That's actually exactly the same amount as we were experiencing in our super flat world without all the extra entities and, you know, landscape going on. So that's really quite reasonable. Don't be worried about your builds being that much more laggy in a regular world than they would be in a super flat world. And that's really all the testing that there is to do, I think. Okay, I just realized that this whole time I had been running these tests with Optifine running in the game. Now, not all of you are going to be using Optifine, so it's only fair that I see what the frames per second are like without Optifine running. So let's open our debug menu. And surprisingly, we're actually getting a higher frames per second without Optifine than we were getting with Optifine. And that surprises me because I thought Optifine, you know, made the game run faster and all that, but I really don't know anything about Optifine. So if you guys know anything about why it runs faster without Optifine, then go ahead and let me know. But that is all the time I have for today's video. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more Halfcraft videos and command creations. And I'll see you in the next video.